Hi there. I'm just chilling out this beautiful Wednesday morning, and I meant to do this video yesterday, but I got sidetracked. So I thought I need to get it out. So if you've been following anything that's been happening recently, there's some pretty huge spiritual changes. Basically, there's no doubt that we've been quite in silence for quite a while energetically, and there is a huge backstory to this, and I guess I'll put up some articles that reflect a lot of this information. But what's been happening is Earth has been siphoned for its energy for quite a while, and the humans have really struggled with keeping Earth in a really positive space. There's so much darkness, and it comes in things like the government and ways that we feel like we can't actually change. With a group consciousness, you can change anything. We are all one consciousness, and we can create what we want for this reality. So I think it's really important to, even in some of your darkest spaces, to ground yourself and get yourself in a good, a better space, even if you're pulling yourself away from work just to sit in your lunch break, just listen to some music on the train, just whatever pulls you into a better space. This is really important. You may have felt things like you may be really sensitive if you're hearing, or really sensitive of light more. You may be picking up your wireless, picking up different noises more. You may be hearing things a little bit more, being a bit more jumpy. You might even have tingly body. You might be dreaming really intensely. All these kind of things are happening at the moment. Last week we had some very intense energy, and I was definitely experiencing a blurred reality, and it was weird, but it's cool because I know that we're really getting accelerated into this at the moment. So I guess if you're not coping, symptoms can be, really bad headache, tiredness, fatigue. But the beauty in all of this is if you can create your own reality, then you can actually get yourself out of that. And it's really amazing to be able to be aware of what's happening and to be able to get yourself out of that. So my experience yesterday, if you've been following my YouTube, if you haven't, jump on YouTube and write in Holistic Adventure, because I've definitely been experiencing lots of intense stuff over this couple of weeks, including a light language that's come to me through meditation. Actually, 3 light languages now. I've had lots of energy come in, coding, dreams. So lots of stuff coming through, and you might listen to my YouTube and be like, wow, that's me, and just have a connection. This is what's really important, is becoming aware, awake, and connecting. So yesterday I went about my day as usual. I had a bit of a shocking sleep, but I went about my day as usual, and I went down to my work placement. And when I got there, that was all good too. I was struggling with a lot of the conversation. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but people are getting quite, if they're struggling with the spiritual shift, they're getting quite viral with their language, and I don't think they even realize they're doing it. There was some real horrible stuff that was said, and I was finding it really confronting, and that was okay, but I did feel myself grit my teeth, so it must have been really grating on me energetically. Usually I probably wouldn't care, I had my headphones in, I forgot my headphones that day. And so anyway, I went to a meeting and then came back, and then I had to go out for another meeting. And on this other meeting, I ended up speaking to who I was with, and there seems to be this lovely new thing for me, which I think is actually pretty incredible. It can be quite overwhelming, but it is incredible, where these people just gravitate to me and they feel like they need to have these really deep conversations off the bat. And you're kind of trying to navigate it so that you don't give 100% away, because one, this is something that I do as a service, and sometimes you don't want to feel like you're giving that service away for free. But in that mindset of the Matrix isn't here anymore and we're awakening, that money doesn't matter anyway. So it's a bit of a odd one to transition into. But when I had this conversation a few weeks ago, that's exactly the thought that came into my mind. Yet yesterday it was like completely like didn't matter. So I get to the point where I'm literally just like hugging someone and I've healed, really whatever their deep-seated aspect has been. And that's pretty intense. Like that's quite an intuitive healing method that is not a technique that you learn. So the first time it was a conversation and, we ended up chatting about things, and I'm being a social worker too, you do delve into things a bit deeper probably than what a lot of people do. Like he's asking about how they're feeling and things like that off the bat. How does this make you feel? And they're kind of like being really honest about it because they trust you like instantly, which is cool. It's a bit confronting at first because you're thinking, why is this person trusting me so quickly? They don't know me. But yeah, it's kind of cool as well. So the first time that happened, the girl literally ended up in tears and told me that before I had spoken to her, she wasn't selling anything. And then afterwards, she sold like 8 things and she just wanted to throw me a party basically because intuitively she knew that it was my helping her through that really emotional stage got her to a point where she felt comfortable to talk to people and sell. So, yeah. And then yesterday was a bit more of a session, really. What would I probably do in an energy session with someone? So I actually ended up providing a full healing service while I was... So we basically had the pre-conversation, which you'd have in a session anyway, where someone comes in and talks to you and you hear a bit about what they want to do in that session, what, issues they want to face or whatever. And so this woman started to talk to me and she said, told me a bit about the holidays she'd been on, and she's a bit older, so, some of these fantastic little adventures she'd been on when she was younger and things like that. And it was really cool having this conversation. And then a bit through it, she starts talking about death and someone had passed away. And then I said, oh, I've experienced something like that, and trying to integrate it into conversation so I don't go, hey, I'm a extraterrestrial, I've got extraterrestrial hybrid DNA or something. And we started talking about how passing over, and the spiritual world and things like that. And then it got into quite an intense conversation about her being told she's very intuitive. And I said to her, I have no doubt in that. I have definitely experienced dreams where I've had premonitions, and she said she'd had the same. And I said I'd had visions and things like that. So we started to really connect. Now, I knew when I met this woman a month ago that she was going to be the perfect supervisor for me because, one, she held no power. Like, there was no spiritual power. I've worked with people where you can feel that spiritual power and they feel like they need to have that over you. And there's no doubt that I attracted that at the time. And when I attracted this one, this was about me saying, all right, this needs to be spiritually okay for me. Now, this woman is like 100% spiritually okay for me. She's definitely someone that I can work with and that I, have none of that power imbalance. And I said to her, wow, yeah, when I first met you, I knew that I wanted to work with you because you balanced me. And she laughed and she said, a lot of people say that. So her mission now as a social worker, that's fabulous because these families, they need to be balanced. They need to feel that comfortability straight away. And not everyone has that ability. So, yeah, it's just really, really interesting how that works. So then I'm on the train and we're having this massive spiritual conversation. I just feel like we're the only ones in the room, and I'm kind of talking her through this is all real for you. This is all real. This has happened. And I've no doubt this has happened. Just, making her feel really okay about her story. And then we start talking about how she got really, really, really sick after being in South America, and she ended up so unwell that she was in and out of consciousness, and she felt like this guide had come and, saved her life basically. And I said, yep, I have 100%, like, I no doubt that happened. And then we got off the train and we were going to our meeting. And I felt this incredible need, okay, it's time for healing. Now, the amazing thing about healing is it doesn't discriminate where you are. I could be on a train and I feel like I need to heal, push someone's darkness away, or, start working with them. And it's like, sometimes you don't know them and you feel like they're almost involuntary coming into it, but you can actually feel there's a soul contract there. So what I'm getting now is I actually can't work with people I don't have a soul contract with, and I have worked with people like that. And you feel like you're getting nowhere with them, and it's because, for whatever reason, your soul just doesn't have a contract. And I think you really have to honour that, because otherwise you're wasting their time as well, and they need to find someone that they feel comfortable with. So we get to this meeting, and it's me, her, and another lady, and I'm having to literally hold this conversation. So I'm talking to both these ladies, listening and healing at the same time. So I basically, and she was ready for it. So what I was getting in my head was she's a first wave starseed, and she's ready to heal. So a lot of like first wavers, especially that older generation, they're not ready, and they'll say to you, this is happening, and you're like, okay, and you'll do little bits and pieces. But no, she was ready to like really get rid of a lot of stuff. She divulged all this story, which means that she's ready. So told me all about these different places she'd been to. Now we go on these pilgrimages because we go on these overseas pilgrimages because that is your spiritual journey, and that's where you're starting to heal yourself. So she'd started that quite young, 30 years ago. So I start with, I was getting some stuff around Amazonian, so I started healing that life. Then I got another one around, she'd been shot in the leg. Now she has a lot of leg pain. And I actually didn't know this until we got on the train afterwards. And she said, I need to undo my shoe straps because my feet get really swollen. My legs get really swollen. And I was like, oh, and I asked her about it, and she'd actually hurt herself. But it's like thrombosis. But yeah, so I'd actually got that she got shot in the leg, and something about her eye, a left eye thing as well. And there was a few other things, her head, and just trying to clear like all the chakras. I lifted a whole bunch of just light off her. I did some spine blockage healing because our spine gets blocked up with guilt and worry and, stress and pain. So I did a fair bit of emotional healing for that. And yeah, I was just doing this literally in this 2-hour meeting the whole time. I'm like physically here, and then I actually felt myself leave my body for a while and do some healing. So that was really intense. First time I've ever done that. And that's where I'm at with the evolution of the healing that's been happening this last 2 weeks. And I think out of that, I really need to start just working with people on a donation basis or something, because it feels like it's not that I shouldn't be paid for my services, but I think it doesn't feel like a service anymore. It feels like this is more like a light mission, and it needs to happen, especially for first wavers, to be able to pass through, over the next 10, 15 years. And what I was going to say as well that I forgot was actually when I first started connecting to her, when we first got off the train and we'd had that big chat, I actually felt that if I didn't do this yesterday, that she would pass away in 1 to 2 years. And I saw her in the hospital, and I saw that I would actually continue on being quite a friend to her, and I didn't want to see that. So very, very interesting stuff. That was my day yesterday. Then I got home and I was like, oh my goodness. And I had this like thumping migraine, and I thought it was to do with that. And I unleashed, on my husband, told him all the stuff that happened at work. And it was actually that conversation that was had in the morning where I was gritting my teeth. I'd actually taken that on. So once I actually thought like, once I have something to eat once I have something to eat that sugar or something like that, I'll be okay. But it wasn't until I actually just went blah, 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 and then migraine lifted completely. So it was really interesting. Then last night, our daughter was being really hard to get to bed again. This has been happening since she got back from seeing her grandparents. She stressing about being in her bedroom, which is a bit further away down the hallway. And maybe she's getting to the age where it's just a bit scary for her. But we actually felt like the room wasn't really connected. So Kane sat in there, my husband, and just did some meditation. And then he has been starting to get some stuff back. That's been really, really intense. I'm not going to talk about that though without his permission. So, but yeah, he's been getting lots of stuff back as well around time travel and stuff like that. Yeah, but what I'll do is I'll put up some links for some information that's really interesting. But yeah, I won't talk about that till he is actually ready to talk about that, because I think there's a bit more to come through. I was getting a lot of intuitive stuff for him though, visions and experiences. I know I have had that before, so I was giving him a bit of a down low of what I was getting, and he was like, tick, tick, tick. Yep, that's exactly what I've been feeling. So lots of interesting stuff. Who knows what's going to happen today? It feels like every day there's something new. I definitely spoke a plant language in my sleep. And then I was looking at the Lemurian light language, and it's very much, they actually have like a plant language and stuff. So, yeah, I felt like I was talking to my daughter in that. I don't know. It's all very interesting. I'm absolutely loving it. This ascension process is just like blowing my mind. I'm becoming more intuitive every day. It's a beautiful gift, and I can't wait to help people just live through, even if it's completely in through a 2-hour conversation through work. It doesn't matter. I can do it. It's multitasking to the highest degree, but it needs to happen. So I'll be looking for people who I have a soul contract with to heal, basically. I'll leave the video at that. It's probably the longest video I've made, but I wanted to talk a bit about that today. You've got any comments or anything, please chat to me like always, and I will put another video up soon. I'm sure I'll see what happens today. Thanks, bye.